Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing, especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past.
Hey all, Franco Musso here. Yes, I've hacked your podcast feed. I've held John and Mike hostage, but don't worry, I got my wires crossed and I'm actually paying them a small ransom in the form of sponsorship. Go figure. So, by popular demand, I'm cooking up 2 brand new offerings to help you get your portal projects off the ground in 2024. The first is my group coaching program launching in March. Join me and a cohort of other budding portal makers for live coaching sessions, weekly live training, office hours, Q&A and surgeries. I'll guide you through the process from zero to launch, all at a fraction of the cost of hiring a freelancer or a contractor. It's like having a trusted partner on hand, helping you avoid the pitfalls, saving you a ton of money, headache and time. Plus, you're bound to learn lots from others in the group as we discuss their experiences, challenges and solutions. To apply, head on over to francomusso.com/group-coaching. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 15 of the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is John Russell and I'm here with my co-partner crab in crime, Mike Gowland. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Brilliant. As always, today we are joined by Emma-Claire Shaw. Emma is the lead product manager for Power Platform at the Department for Environment. No, I'm going to start that again. I'm going to start again.
Don't. Just keep going.
Okay. Today we are joined by Emma-Claire Shaw. Emma is the lead product manager for Power Platform at the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, or DEFRA, where she has championed citizen development by enabling a safe and secure place inside the Power Platform space to do so. I met Emma for the first time at South Coast Summit back in October 2023, and I was really taken aback by her honesty and the challenges she's faced. Welcome to the podcast, Emma. How are you doing? You all right?
Yes, I'm really good, thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me on. Really excited to be here.
No worries. How's your day been so far? All good?
Yeah, it's been really good, thanks. Yeah, I'm actually on maternity leave at the moment with a little baby, so it's really nice to be talking shop for a change instead of changing nappies.
Oh, nice. Is the baby near?
No, well, she's downstairs, out of earshot. That's the most important thing.
Okay. What was her name? Sorry. What's her name?
Ivy.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely. That's my one of my daughter's middle names.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, it's really good to have you on. Yeah.
So, in grand tradition, John, in grand tradition, we normally start by asking Emma about what your journey was like and where are you now?
I'm currently working as obviously lead product manager, Power Platform. I'm actually only responsible for apps and Automate, not BI, but we'll probably get into that a bit more later. I've always been a bit of a geek. I think like a lot of people in the technology space, got the internet quite early, lived on MSN Messenger in my teens. But I ended up studying what I was good at university. So I did English and wanted to work in advertising. Rolled out of university and ended up working in an ad agency where technology clients were our bread and butter. So worked on lots of B2B advertising campaigns for Microsoft, who were one of our big clients, and Toshiba and EMC. So it was about the time that the cloud was the main thing everybody was talking about instead of AI. Then the guy I worked for there, he sold up the company and started a new one around the dawn of the first iPhone. So developing enterprise mobile applications. So it was just as smartphones were getting really ubiquitous, and ended up working as a consultant there, helping organisations work out their mobile strategies and how they might be able to use apps and things. And whilst there, we kind of dabbled with creating our own off-the-shelf solutions for common use cases, so things like mobile forms. So there were a few products around then. I think there's probably hundreds of them now. So yeah, had a little bit of a kind of toe in the water with low code at that point. And then I saw this job working at DEFRA a few years later, working as a tech innovation consultant. So it kind of mixed my love of technology, so looking at new technology that might help DEFRA, but also another big part of my life, which is being really into the environment. I'm a bit of a an eco warrior. So in that role, I was then looking at new technology that might have an impact on DEFRA, that might help them do their job better. And I ended up sort of specialising in the mobile technology from my history there, but also in 365, which I was really passionate about too. And I'd done a few kind of bits of work around that. And so around 2018, I ran a proof of concept in that role looking at Power Apps. So there were a few different use cases that I could see might have big value for DEFRA in that space, and particularly around citizen development. DEFRA's got 30,000 employees, and a lot of those are very technical people, people that want to get their hands on things and have a go. So ran a proof of concept, made some recommendations on what the next steps could be. It was really successful. And yeah, kind of left that bit of work behind. And then, 3 years later, they advertised my role as product manager for Power Platform, with that kind of will to move it forward and drive the adoption. And what's been really great is in my previous role, I was constantly running proof of concepts and saying we should do this, but never really getting to see it through. And in this role, I've been able to really take the reins and take it forward and see the value get delivered. So been doing this job for 2 years now, and I absolutely love it. I never thought I'd be on maternity leave and be really missing work, but I really am. And the community around this technology is just amazing. That it's come up a few times, but when I realised how big the community was, and I just think it's a really exciting technology area, and really glad to be working in it.
Nice. And so, talking about your product manager role, what do you think it takes to be a good one? Like, what are the kind of key traits do you think that a product manager needs?
Well, I think the top one is being a people person. It's really important to understand your customers and your users really deeply. And it really helps if not only you're, able to have those conversations, but that you really care about having those conversations with people, and that you care about having those conversations with people on an ongoing basis, because you need that continuous feedback loop to drive the product development and know that you're doing the right things in terms of the directions. Being a people person, being able to keep people on side and having that kind of empathy and being approachable. Passion for the product is the next big thing. So no matter what your product is, I guess that's important. But I think especially in this area where the technology is moving so fast, you've got to really care about it and want to understand what's coming. And you don't have to be the techiest person at the table, but you need to know who those people are that you've got to ask the questions to. And then I think probably being a strategic thinker. So, being able to look at that big picture and match together the business requirements and the technology and bring those things together into some list of priorities and a roadmap, because there's just so much development all the time. If you can't prioritize them, you just get snowed under. And then I guess probably things like being pragmatic, being able to be calm in a crisis and deal with curveballs, which you will also almost certainly see loads of. Being tenacious, having that will to move it forward. And I think especially I speak to a lot of other organisations who are thinking about kind of starting their journey with Power Platform, and they're unable to get people on side to move it forward because people have been burnt by grey IT in the past, and there's that big fear about adopting the technology. So you've got to be able to convince people as to the benefits, but also convince them that you can put those right guardrails in place to make it safe. I think those are the key things. People person, pragmatic, tenacious, strategic, passionate about the product, and I guess confident as well, confident to make those decisions and get out there and have those difficult conversations.
Is it hard to do it? Is it hard to do it at scale? All of those things, because you said like DEFRA's like 30,000 employees. Is that one of the challenges?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it gets more challenging the bigger the scale, for sure. I get so jealous when I meet people who work for really small companies who are thinking about doing it, because I just think, it'd be so much easier. But obviously the benefits are bigger too. The potential opportunity is huge.
Yeah.
So Emma, I see from your LinkedIn profile, you're someone who likes new technology, and that's obviously what you've just mentioned in your introduction as well. Is there anything on the horizon that, in your view, is going to be a game changer in this space?
So I guess I I'm very much institutionalized now into the Power Platform space. So I guess thinking about the new technology in the Power Platform space, it's hard not to mention the obvious, which is obviously all the flurry of AI features coming through that are part of or accessible through the platform. For me, being a non-techie, I think those broadly split into kind of two categories, which is one, which is making it easier to build stuff on the platform. And I think especially for citizen developers, there's loads of exciting stuff coming in that space. As the person responsible for the governance, I have huge fears about people building complicated things that maybe shouldn't be built on the platform in the first place, but they've done them because they were easy to do now that Copilot's doing it for them. So I've definitely got quite a lot of fear around that space, although I'm also really excited about people being able to do things more easily. And then there's the other side, which is obviously the making smarter solutions. And I think that, there's some much bigger governance considerations around that. But I think DEFRA's biggest problem there is going to be the state of our data, which there's loads of projects on the go trying to kind of sort that out. I think, sadly, in DEFRA, we won't be making the most of a lot of these features for a long time, but they're certainly on my roadmap and things that I've been talking to customers about and users about, and making sure that we're kind of prioritising those and thinking about them at the right time. More broadly speaking, I suppose, outside of the platform, I'm really interested to see how the integration of other technologies kind of come in as we move forward. One technology I think is going to be really transformative for DEFRA is digital twins. So can't go into too much detail about the stuff we're doing with them, but if you imagine DEFRA as a government organisation, we do the kind of policy piece, but we've also got lots of physical assets. So within the Environment Agency, we've got big high-tech flood defences. Within Animal Plant Health, we've got laboratories. So there's lots of potential there for creating digital models of things that we've got. And we're already working on some proof of concepts where we're integrating some of those technologies into Power Platform solutions. So I think how the platform gets used in those different and exciting ways as we move forward and those integrations grow is going to be really interesting. And I think also just for this space, the ubiquity of the technology, whether, kind of projections come true around how ubiquitous it's going to become. And I think now, like speaking to organisations now about what they're thinking about doing with low code, it's not are we going to do this? It's when are we going to do this? And that's really shifted, I think, in the last 2 years. Lots of exciting stuff.
Could you talk a little bit more about the governance side of things? So are you looking at kind of like data loss prevention policies, that kind of thing? And how do you kind of handle those on a case-by-case basis at that kind of scale?
Yeah, well, so the governance, we've got an adaptive governance model for Power Platform, so slightly different ones for apps and for Automate, depending what people have built, then we then have different rules around what they are and aren't able to do. So we have our DLP policies aligned to the different categories within the governance model. So depending what space we've allowed people to develop in, we can then set up those guardrails about what they can do. And then if they want something that isn't available to them, we've got various different places where they can have the conversation depending what kind of the user they are. There's lots of different doors and roads through the journey depending if they're asking for something beyond what we're offering. The platform makes it easy to set up those kind of things, which is nice.
But you have to remember to do it.
You do have to remember to do it, yeah. And if you haven't done it and you've got 100 developers already on your platform, you've got a lot of unraveling to do.
Yeah.
Did you have any unraveling to do?
Oh yeah.
At the start.
Yeah. I think we had about I think there were about 500 apps on the platform when we launched the governance model, wow. But we knew that about 480 of those were trash, or things that people had started and then left. There were a lot of things that people didn't need. But yeah, we did have to do a lot of backpedaling with some of the things that people had already built to make sure that they were doing things safely. And actually, that's a really interesting one, because a lot of organisations will say, "Oh, we're not doing citizen development. We don't have citizen developers on our tenancy yet."
But they know of.
They always find out that they have.
And that's normally through COE Toolkit install, right?
Yeah.
And I take it you use that at DEFRA quite extensively.
We do use it very extensively, but my dream was that we would bring in the starter kit and it would solve all my governance problems. But one thing I talk about when I present on our journey is that there's a lot of customization that you're going to want to do to the starter kit to make it do what you want it to do. And it's important you do those customizations in the right way so you don't lose them every time it gets upgraded. And there's a lot of thinking that you need to do about how you're going to use it. It's not going to be the magic bullet.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well, what you say about customization, because no one's going to be able to create a one product fits all in that scenario. Like, everyone's citizen developer program is going to be different. Their governance is always going to be different. And to even just be able to shape those tools to what you want is really, it is really powerful in of itself. So it's a really good point.
And the key's in the name, isn't it? It's a starter kit. But yeah, it's a great product and they're extending it all the time. But there's a few key things that aren't in there that I would like to see soon.
Anything you want to share on this?
Yeah, flow run data. So you can't see at the moment, unless you bring your own data lake, flow run data at all. So Power Automate's actually quite difficult to govern at the moment. So you have to be open to some risk, I think, to open it up as things currently stand.
I think they've literally just bought out that table now, haven't they? Where you can actually spec flow runs.
Oh, I'm going to have a look, Mike. I'm behind the times.
I think it might have just been in the past week or two.
Okay, I'm having a look.
That started to drop.
Well,
because
that's
you can look at data on flow runs, right? You can add columns into.
You can add
into the view, into the actual run view, and you can see what's been passed as data parts in there.
I think you can add input parameters, can't you, to that column? But I think what you want to do is actually be able to get like a big view of all your flow runs across your environment and see what's actually being used.
Yeah, and it kind of links back to my other big challenge, which is around benefit tracking. So, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've got in my role is how do we track the benefits of the platform? And there's various dribs and drabs of bits that you can do, but flow run data would be really useful because if I knew how much time each flow was saving, or how much money each flow was saving, or how many less errors we're going to have because that flow is running, we could roll up some interesting data then based on how many times that flow is run. But at the moment it's all kind of manual, so it's all a bit bodged.
Don't
tell my boss.
I came across at the Power Platform user group in Paddington. Matt Collins-Jones was there talking about flow best practices, and he mentioned about the workflow expression and the results expression, which I'd not come across before. Well, I'd come across the workflow one, but the result one was pretty good. And what that allows you to do is if a flow errors, and you're normally in the designer and you can see the result, you can see what's happening. If you use the result of, say, the scope or the action that's errored, you can then capture that result and you can store that result alongside with maybe the workflow ID, and then you've got a basis of where to go and investigate.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, that was a pretty good tip from him. So you're so say someone comes to you at DEFRA who maybe has seen like a couple of YouTube videos about the Power Platform, and they're like they kind of like pique their interest a little bit. Where do you start them off as a citizen developer? Does DEFRA have anything internally like training, or do you kind of go out, kind of get them to go out onto the kind of certification path? How do you get them started?
So I've got a SharePoint site, which we called our Power Platform Hub. We called it that before the PowerCat team released their template site, the Power Platform Hub. So They stole it from me. But essentially, it's our kind of one place to go, one-stop shop for people that are interested in using the platform. And on there, we've got links out to Microsoft Learn content and training paths, certification paths. So we do ask people to do various different ones of those depending what they're looking to do. We've got case studies on there, so actual DEFRA case studies, which we found have been really useful, because obviously just sending people to Microsoft case studies, sometimes it's hard to kind of link those together, and a lot of our citizen developers are doing quite basic solutions, so we don't want them to be scared off by looking at something too whizzy elsewhere. On there we've also got our community of practice, so we've got a really busy community of practice. We've got about 600 users in there now, so that's grown 200% in 2 years, so massive adoption going on. We've also got kind of news and things like that, things that are coming, visibility of the roadmap for our users on there, how they can feed back to us. We'd send people, new citizen developers, we send them there. They can find out about what's going on with the platform, the governance, all of that kind of stuff, see what other people are doing, and then go through those learning paths if they want to know more. But yeah, we don't offer any of our own kind of tailored training. I do like intro sessions, which people can come along to if they want to hear about it from a person rather than just reading the content. But we're not offering any kind of tailored training. The big change, I think, over the coming year is that we're going to be looking to set up more of an enablement team. So as part of my team, we're going to be putting dedicated resources out there to act as part of Fusion teams, essentially with citizen developers to help them get up and running. The complexity is around how we then charge those resources back into the business. The complexity is not around the technology at all, as always. But yeah, so there's some bits to sort out there. But yeah, we're looking to go for more of that approach going forward, because our community, which is growing very quickly, have got a desire to have a bit more hand holding on various bits, and actually I think it will ultimately lead to better quality products coming out of the citizen development community too, but it is more of an investment from the IT department in terms of getting that team up and running, but it'll be worth it, I'm sure.
And I think if you're kind of, it kind of does need to be a bit of a top-down approach like that. But I think once you're kind of got that embedded and people kind of see their levels as citizen developers, they'll be kind of training each other organically anyway.
And that is happening, that is happening already. So we, the community's got a Yammer group, and on Yammer, someone will ask a question like, "Why is this flow broken? I've had this error," and you'll get like 4 or 5 people from the community answering the question before any of the pro devs even get to it. So yeah, we are seeing a bit of that already. So looking to grow that champions awesome. Network too. Yeah.
Nice. So, Emma, we have a section on this podcast that you may have heard of it. It's called Uncomfortable Corner.
Uncomfortable Corner.
Go ahead, John.
I just love how budget it is.
Yeah.
It was so well timed, though. Really sorted it out in time for episode 15, guys. Love it.
So, Emma, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable inside or outside of work? Explain how you felt and how you managed to get through it, and what did you learn?
I feel like you should just change the name of the section to Imposter Syndrome Corner, because it's the thing that just always comes up. And that's certainly what it's going to be for me. I mean, I launched the governance model for Power Platform about 1.5 years ago in DEFRA. And when I did that piece of work, there were so few organisations to learn from. I went out, I did speak to Samit, who I know his name's come up on the podcast before. He's amazing. And there are a few other organisations that were already doing citizen development. And, the Gartner have done some great research about it, but, they probably just made it up. So there were a few different approaches out there, things I'd seen, but I definitely felt like I just made it up. And I think putting something out there that I felt like I had just written down and everyone had said, well, seems all right as a first pass, that really triggered my imposter syndrome, and I think that's always bubbling under the surface for me as an English grad who now works in technology, and I certainly always feel like I'm surrounded by people who know way more about the technology than I do, but I guess I think in that moment, I've already told you how many apps we had on our tenancy when I got started. We were running at risk massively and had been for ages, and I knew what the opportunity was. I knew what the business needs were. I knew my audience. I had done as much research as I could possibly dig out, and I just had to move forward. So I think the thing that kept me going was needing to have that tenacity and needing to push forward. So I think through that experience, what I've discovered about myself is that I can make good decisions. And actually, in a year and a half, the governance model hasn't changed that much from what we started with. We've opened up a few bits, but actually the baseline of it is pretty firm. I think also what I've learned through that is that I am more confident than I thought I was. And I think with the help of our mutual friend Janet Robb, who was my customer success manager at Microsoft when I first started this journey, she really encouraged me, and she's since really encouraged me to share our story with other organizations, and that encouragement has really helped my confidence, but also helped now lots of other organizations to do the same thing. So I do feel like I know what I'm talking about with it now, where I didn't a couple of years ago. And I guess like thinking about that journey and what I would do differently next time, I just trust myself more. When I know I've done my homework, it's okay to trust yourself and go with something. So yeah, I feel much more confident making those decisions now.
And I think equally to like trusting yourself as well, you also it's important to know that like making mistakes is okay.
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah.
Like if you, I'm not saying you did or anything like that.
No,
but making mistakes is fine, and in fact, making mistakes is a good thing.
Yeah, fail fast.
Yes, fail fast, learn from them, and grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And in this technology space, again, where it is just moving so quickly, you've got to have that attitude, because you're not going to have it right every time. And
I think it gives you a safe space to do so as well, because actually you fail fast, and usually 8 or 9 times out of 10 you can get out of that kind of quite quickly. Yeah.
Also,
I can hear Ivy crying, by the way.
Oh no, sorry guys.
That's all right, it's okay.
The dog was barking a minute ago as well, so that might be on there too, sorry.
That's okay. You hinted at the start about how imposter syndrome. Do you need to go first?
No, of course I don't. No, it's fine. My husband is downstairs.
Okay.
She's not just in a cot.
Okay, cool. Just checking. So you said like how imposter syndrome's come up on the podcast quite a few times, which it definitely has. So a question to you then is, why do you think imposter syndrome comes up on here? Why do you think it comes up on here quite frequently?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I wonder if with people that work in technology, it comes up quite a lot, because there's so many things that you don't know. But actually, I wonder if it's also, and I think you guys mentioned this on an early episode, about how particularly this technology space, it is so big. There's so much there. There's so many things you could do with it. And nobody knows everything. Like even the biggest mega nerds in this space, and I think we know who some of those big names are. Including you guys probably. They. But
I'd like to see
even
John
those
Carmack.
those people. Or like Chris, for example, one of your colleagues over at ANS, he's amazing. He just, brain the size of a planet, seems to just know everything about the technology. But even he will have his blind spots, and there's bits that he does, he hates Canvas apps, for example. So he probably wouldn't be the man to go to ask loads of questions about them. But anyway, I think maybe because the technology space is so big, there's so much in it, it's moving so quickly that everybody's got gaps, and maybe that's quite triggering. I don't know, because that everybody knows that there's bits that they don't know, so you might get caught out.
I think it's really important to know that, I mean, there's a lot that's asked of a Power Platform developer, because you're doing essentially back-end, front-end. You're doing external, you're probably handling authentication. You may even have to go and do some like actual customizations with JavaScript, C#, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot that's, compared to other technology stacks, there's a lot that's asked of a Power Platform developer.
Yeah.
You can't. The thing is, you can't know everything. You can't know everything at that point as well. So it's impossible to keep up with all of the moving parts, but being able to specialise in one and have awareness of the others, I think that's what's really key, isn't it, John?
Yeah, definitely.
And surrounding yourself, I mean, as a product manager, surrounding yourself with a team that can fill those gaps for you and stay on top of it.
Yeah, that's very important. I think that's also like why me and Mike, and we've said it before, it's why me and Mike get on so well, because we support each other in different ways. Like I would say, Mike is definitely more technical than I am and helps me out on that side of things, especially when it comes to maths and dates. And then I help him with his calendar. So,
Yeah, and talking to humans.
And talking to humans, yeah. Have you got any plans, Emma, to speak anywhere else? Have you submitted for anything anywhere?
Yes, I have actually.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to be at the European Power Platform Conference in Brussels.
Nice.
Yeah, in June.
Well done.
So I'll be speaking there about our journey to adopting Power Platform. So if anybody wants to know more about citizen development or just how we brought governance in at DEFRA, come along and listen there. And I guess another recommendation I'd make to people, any organisation thinking about moving into or thinking about adopting Power Platform on a bigger scale, that conference was so good last year. The breadth of knowledge is just incredible, and you get all of the best specialists will be there speaking. So, not to be missed. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's June, isn't it? Is it June?
It is, yeah. I think it's the 11th to the 13th.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Do you like Belgian beer?
Yeah, great. All beer.
Brilliant.
I've never been to Brussels either. I'm super excited. It's going to be really fun.
And mussels and frites.
Oh yeah.
Very
well,
good.
I'm a vegetarian, but I love chips.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Great. Nice.
Yeah. Are you guys?
Right.
So, actually, sorry, I was just on the governance one. So I'm doing a talk about governance, but also hopefully going to do a talk about the starter kit as well, about how we've used the starter kit.
Nice.
So something more detailed about the starter kit and the bits of it that we're using, our favourite bits, but also, what we wish we'd known at the start. So other people thinking about bringing it in. And it was something I noticed there was a bit of a gap in the agenda on it last year. So going to be doing that talk with a colleague from Capgemini.
Oh, nice.
I think those sort of sessions are really really key as well, aren't they? About I've said that you've gone through the whole experience of using the starter kit. Here's how it went for us, and this is what we had to do. Like your mileage may vary, but it gives really good insight into how people can use those tools and what if they haven't used those tools yet, what they may come to expect, or if they have used the tools, like things that they may not have known. So like that, John mentioned a session that we went to last week about Power Automate, and there were a few things there. Both me and John were like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that."
That's something else I've noticed as well. I don't know if I haven't spoken to you about this, Mike, but I noticed at that user group there seemed to be a slight shift of people wanting to know more technical side of things rather than just like a kind of like holistic, overview of the Power Platform. I think the community is kind of developing more into this technical space, and they are actually quite thirsty for more technical examples.
Did you pick that up when they said we need more technical explanation of this solution, John?
Well, yes, there was that, but it didn't seem to us obvious at the time. And I think, I think it's just something that like maybe everyone needs to be aware of. That I think there are people going to these sessions now, going to these events who are kind of getting into like the 200, 300 level when they might actually not be a Power Platform developer.
I think it's key when you create a session though, is that you set out who the target audience is. So if you are doing a high level overview for a level 100, like you need to make that clear in your session. Whereas if you're doing a level 500, like deep dive into something super, super duper complex. And again, you need to set those expectations from the outset. I think for our Just Ask It solution, I think there's very little technical going on, and a lot of it is just literally asking a large language model. But me and John are trying to work out a way at the moment of how we can convey that a little more detailed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Right, I think that's all we've got time for. So, Emma, thank you so much for your time on the episode today. You can find Emma on LinkedIn. Links to her resources mentioned in this episode will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by Ken Like Fit. You can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can find in this episode's show notes. Additional music used in this episode is also credited there. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. We would also really appreciate it if you gave us a follow on LinkedIn. And if you're really enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you. This has been Sprint Zero, and we've been John Russell. Say goodbye, John.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Emma-Claire Shaw. Say goodbye, Emma.
Bye.
And I'm Mike Gowland. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you later. Love you, Mike.
Love you, John.
Love you, Emma.
Love you, John.
Bye.
Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing. Especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past.
Hey all, Franco Musso here again. Quick update on that hostage situation. Hopefully the smell isn't coming across the airwaves. I haven't let the guys use the bathroom yet, so the joke's definitely on me. Anyway, big announcement. I'm finally releasing my online Power Pages course. This has been 5 years in the making. It's tried and tested on citizen devs and portal makers all around the world. It's the course I wish existed when I was getting started. It's practical, it's hands-on, and it's project-based, so you're not wondering how the heck this would apply to the real world. I've built in battle-tested lessons I've learned from tens of successful portal projects across various industries, budgets and geographies, and I've formulated the most efficient route from zero to heroic launch. The tools and techniques I've chosen to show you are all based on what adds the most value to you, the learner, and to your customers, all in the most compressed timeline possible. Think 80-20, focusing on the techniques that punch above their weight and deliver the majority of results. You'll get video lessons, a repeatable framework, and some super helpful worksheets. Visit francomusso.com/power-pages-course and register your interest. Disclaimer, this course isn't for you if you prefer hours of slides, theory, and little to no action. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.